I've been scammed. That's right, I was scammed out of 30 bucks. Or at least, that's how I felt after my first playthrough of Sword of the Sea. There's not often that a game leaves me wanting more in quite the same way. Originally, I felt disappointed that I finished the game in just 2 hours. I started to write a scathing script that was going to tear the game apart, but I just couldn't get this nagging feeling out of my head. Like I was missing something. And not just your subscription to this channel, which is going to come at the end of this video, right? But by the end of my second playthrough, my entire opinion had flipped. And now I need to explain to you why. Sword of the Sea was the game equivalent of a firework, a prolonged build-up with moments of beauty, followed by darkness. That's a nice line, right? Very poetic bit. That was my opening line for my first attempt at this video. But first, let me take a step back and describe the experience the team at Giant Squid were trying to craft. You see, the developers have a history of creating critically acclaimed games like Journey and Absu that are somewhere between spiritual journey and artistic masterpiece. Or at least that's how everyone seems to describe them. In my experience, I've only played Absu, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't get it. Well, unless it was boredom. I got a lot of that. But from the trailers of Sword of the Sea, I thought this time I'd get a little more gameplay and a step up from their previous experiences. The promotional materials present the game as a solitary but rewarding experience, and imply deep meaning in the story. So I went in expecting a quiet yet impactful story that would leave me with a lasting message. I already know they can make gorgeous vistas, haunting music, and narratives with the lightest of touches. And no, I wasn't expecting deep gameplay systems, or other common game design practices like skill trees or character customization. But I was expecting to receive a little more than what I actually did get. But what was that, you ask? I basically just held the forward button on my controller and occasionally did a jump. You play as an awoken wraith, silently rejuvenating the sea of an overtaken world by doing rad tricks on your sword board. Copyright that, by the way. I'm claiming that name. And I'll be honest, although the world is low poly, it is pretty pretty. It has a pretty consistent art style throughout, and the colour does seem to pop off in most scenes. It's more diverse in its design and with grander vistas and more care taken than any of its predecessors. An example of that care is the way the wind interacts with the surface and creates waves across the horizon that you can surf along. And then to compound on that, even your surfing, jumps and tricks interact with the waves as well, leaving splashes and ripples in your wake, which makes movement mesmerising while at the same time holding your focus. The developers said they were trying to get you to experience what boarders call a flow state, which apparently is when movement feels effortless and you're only focused on you, the board, and the wave. Unfortunately, the only flow state I know is between me and my snacks, so I'm not an authority. But in my naive opinion, it seems to hit the mark. Though if you've ever snowboarded or surfed, let me know what you think down below. But the flow I can comment on though is between the exploration zones and the completely out of place skate parks. Not only do they not fit narratively into the game world we're experiencing, but they also serve to highlight my biggest complaint about the game. Tricks. I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. Tricks do not feel satisfying to perform. Whenever I do a trick, it doesn't matter how far I go or how many buttons I press, it's never visually impressive, and it doesn't feel like I'm doing anything. They lack weight and visual diversity, so you can't even tell them apart. So the only time I ended up doing tricks in the open world was when I unlocked the ability to get a speed boost from landing them, and trying to do tricks while on a ramp or in a skate park felt difficult to execute, like I wasn't even in control of my character most of the time. So the tricks didn't blow me away, but thankfully the main spectacle of returning the world to Oceandom? Restoring the world to water was pretty nice. You're greeted with sea life, enjoying the newly restored area, and beautiful corals and underwater landscapes get revealed as well. The problem with that being, the moment all of those elements started appearing on my screen, my frame rate would instantly tank. And that's with downscaling the resolution to 50% of 1440p. That's 720p. It's 2025. I have a 3090. That's still relevant. I'm still relevant. I'm not old, okay? Frankly, the performance of the PC version of the game, with the models and graphics utilised, is inexcusable. It's another in the long list of Unreal Engine 5 games that run incredibly poorly. If any of the background footage looks bad, just know that I had to do a serious amount of overclocking to even get that. But a $30 game where I can only perform lackluster tricks while staring at pretty scenery must have a pretty compelling story, right? Well, the plot pretty much goes like this. Restore water to the world, make a friend, save a friend, game over. I'm not kidding. There's 8 chapters, and 3 of those are incredibly short, and the last one is the final boss. So it should be no surprise to anyone that I finished the game in 2 hours exactly. Honestly, I've played some tech demos that have lasted longer than that, and this is basically where my first script ended. I was ready to put the pen down, but while proofing, I just couldn't get this feeling out of my head. I was doubting what I'd written, and that's when my mind was changed by my second playthrough. The game only really clicked for me on my second playthrough. You might be asking yourself, Pip, if you didn't like the game so much, why play it a second time? Well, 2 reasons. I was doubting the experience I'd had the first time through, and also, do you remember how poorly I told you the game ran? Well, in my efforts to try and fix it, I accidentally ended up messing up my recording for the second half of the game. So I needed to re-record it to get the quality just right for all of your lovely eyes. It's only in this second recording that I realised I'd been playing the game wrong. It was a skill issue. My first time through, I was trying to analyse the game and track my thoughts while tracking all of the gameplay moments as well. Whereas the second playthrough, I already had my opinions. I could go smooth brain, and that's surprisingly when I had the most fun. I wasn't worried about trying to max out my points or questioning where to go. I just let my intuition drive me. If I did a trick, I did a trick. If I did a jump, it's because I wanted to do a jump, not because I thought the angle of the wave would give me the best trajectory in order to get the longest possible jump, which actually, now I think about it, might have been me reaching my true flow state. I'm not gonna lie, this is when I actually started enjoying myself. Because this time I knew the length of each section, I could afford to pace myself and explore the areas more meaningfully. I found myself trying to explore every nook and cranny to see what I'd missed and restore water to the entirety of the world. I even found these cute little froggies that I had no idea existed on my first playthrough. So my advice to you would be to pace yourselves so you don't speed through it too quickly. Or maybe play the game through quickly a first time so you get the idea of the length of it, and then play it through a second time when you're actually enjoying yourself and exploring the world while you have extra features unlocked, like the speedometer. It is crazy how much seeing a number go up can make my little caveman brain go brrrr. Though, I'll be honest, it wasn't all sunshine and roses. There were some parts that still weren't great. Just like in my first playthrough, I was still very impressed with the art style and colour palette, but I still wasn't sold on the cheap looking models. And I still didn't really care for the story. It didn't leave a meaningful impact, and it was still too basic for my wants. Sure, you can go around and read about the history of the world at various plinths, but the story wasn't interesting enough or present enough to really hook me into it. Then again, I am one of those people that can explain to you the entire 12,000 year history of RuneScape, so maybe it hooking me was a bit of a stretch in the first place. So I'd definitely recommend that if you're gonna give this game a chance, actually give it 2 chances. I mean, it is short enough that that's not really too much of an ask, to be honest. Honestly, there are times that Sword of the Sea can barely be described as a game, at least not in the traditional sense. You won't find difficult puzzles or challenging bosses in any of its wide open landscapes. However, what I hope you'll find is a bit of space to just do what you want. If you're anything like me right now, and the world is racing around you, and you're in a bit of a panic about what you should be doing, Maybe a game like Sword of the Sea is exactly what you need to carve out a little bit of that world for yourself. And maybe you'll walk away with an appreciation rather than a disappointment if you give it a chance. Hey guys, thanks for watching all the way through. I hope you liked the video, and if you have, give it a subscribe and leave a comment down below with what you thought of Sword of the Sea. And hopefully I'll get to see you all next time. Bye bye.